Hello, strangelings. Welcome back to my parlor. So today, I'm sure you are, well, frankly, some of you are probably really confused about my title. Some of you guys might think I'm talking about a band today. I'm not, but you know. So today, before I get started, I want to talk to the reason why I feel I have expertise in this. We're going to start with the non-obvious. In high school, I had very, very many classes where the teachers told me, if you would have just done the assignments, you would have passed this class. You would have aced this class. You would have been the head of this class. I had been told by some teachers, had I done any of my homework in school, I might have been the valedictorian, you know? But some of these teachers were notable teachers. They were teachers in specific classes. One, I had a teacher in a few classes, and she knew how smart I was, and she always felt it was so disappointing that I could not get out of my depression enough to do the things I needed to do, to show her that I knew show the school system that I knew what I know. One of the classes I took for her was advertising design. I also took a small business class, which I actually did ace, by the way. That was, we were learning on how to make a small business, how to be an entrepreneur, of course. And then, of course, we had to make a small business. Obviously not in real life. We actually had to do the real research, though. I had to call up landlords and see what rents would be in certain locations. I had to call the insurance companies and find out what insurance would be for the business. I even had to find out, because I had what I called Old Relics Cafe. So I even had to look up cappuccino machines, coffee machines, and other machines I might need for that cafe to actually work. So, I mean, it was in-depth small business class. I don't remember exactly what it was called. I just call it small business class. I also had two teachers who, like my art teacher, said if only I would have done the assignments, because I would discuss, especially with these two teachers, because I was so very interested in learning in these classrooms. So I would sit and discuss with these teachers when everybody else was doing their studying. And these teachers knew that I had an undiagnosed dyslexia, and that's part of the reason why I would rather talk to you than do the written work. So those two classes were government and sociology. Now, I also studied psychology. However, I studied psychology under my best friend's books, and she was telling me what she was learning in class each day. I did, however, cultivate a friendship with the psychology teacher, who would talk to me on psychology subjects quite regularly as if I was her student, knowing that I was just interested in the subject that I had not taken. And in fact, she lamented the fact that I did not take the class as well, because she had thought that I would be an A student in that class. So, these are some of my academic reasons why I feel like I'm an expert on this particular topic. Religiously, well, that is, I grew up with someone who had intended to be my mother's husband at some point, who had actually been in the seminary. That's right, he was trying to become a Catholic priest before he wanted to marry my mother. I knew him back then too. We all did. I have had many friends along the Abrahamic religions, whether it's Baptist, whether it's me growing up in a Methodist church. I'd been to Catholic churches. I'd been to Lutheran churches. I had been to, there was a church downtown that was a kind of a anybody as long as you're Christian church. that I also went to a couple times. I also had friends who were Islamic, or Muslim, sorry, and I had Jewish friends as well. As I grew up, of course, the school system had very, very few offerings as far as other non-Abrahamic religions. So I didn't really grow up with people who were not in the 3 Abrahamic religions. However, as an adult, my brother became a Taoist. Yes, I'm sorry. I have to remind myself because I also had a friend who was a Taoist. They are 2 different religions, by the way. I have had friends who are Hindu, Buddhist. I have had friends who were Voodoo. I have had friends who were, let's see what else. I think that's about it. And then I've had a ton of friends who were on the spectrum of naturalist to atheist, because that's a spectrum for me because I am a naturalist atheist. So for me, that's a spectrum. And I've had friends that are on that spectrum all across the board. I have had friends who are both atheist naturalist, just like me. My husband is a non-theistic Satanist, but he's also a natural atheist. So, naturalist atheist, sorry. So, wealth of experience in my life. Of course, I was one of those people who could not make a sense of self, so I did not have the ability to filter all this out and not include this into my personality, at least during my youth. So, yeah. One of the major problems with religion and spiritual psychosis as a whole, because this is part of the religion that tends to lead to spiritual psychosis. One of the major problems is the fact that a moral system in a religion has a tendency to be seen as an inherent natural moral system, when that couldn't be further from the truth. There is nothing farther from the truth than that. You see, a natural religious system is one that you personally come to, usually some point around your puberty, and usually it's something that ends up falling away by the time you turn into an adult, because the religious system as a whole is literally made to protect your mind from injuries it does not understand. It's a way of understanding why you're getting hurt while you're getting hurt. A way of bridging the gap until you have time to go, dig that dirt back up and find out what the hell that moment was all about in your life in the first place. Moreover, an area where there's a dominant or a singular religion, especially a smaller area that is maybe less willing to embrace scientific endeavor. These have a tendency to not only see the religious morals, the religious morals. Sorry guys, I'm feeling weird today. What can I say? They have a tendency to take the religious morals so seriously that if you are not somebody willing to follow those religious morals, you are evil enough that your life should be ended because somehow you aren't worthy to have a real life if you don't believe as they believe. We've even seen that here in the States, guys. That is exactly what lynching is. When you lynch someone for being gay, for being black, for anything that you don't think is okay, you are saying your morals are required to be the common morals. Morals, guys, are opinion, just like religion. And anyone who tells you any different, anyone who tells you you have to follow this God or you will burn in hell, I know that sounds like I'm talking about a specific God, but there's a lot of religions that have their own versions of hell, trust me. Just like there's a lot of religions that have their own version of Armageddon that we had to put together to figure out how long climate change was going to take to kill us. Me and my mother. Anyhow, anyone who tells you that religion is anything but opinion, is fact in any kind of way, unless they can produce that evidence, as they say, give me the receipts, unless they can produce that evidence that in fact it is a fact that this deity just happened to come down to the earth and say this, this, and this, you should take it as personal opinion. And here's the rub, guys. As far as psychology goes, we know for a fact that unfortunately personal opinion has a tendency to be protected, not as if it's fact, but as if you are physically attacking someone when you question their belief system. So I make this video for two reasons. One, I want everyone to remember to keep it in their head always, even if they have a religion. Now, religion and faith is opinion. It may be based on something that you are told is fact. It may be based on actual fact, but it is still opinion. Now, of course, it's a little stronger opinion based on actual fact, but it is not the facts it is based on. Two, I give this video to you guys as kind of a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a pro tip. When people are fighting tooth and nail about their religious beliefs as if you should be believing them too, remember, they're taking it like you are physically attacking them. If they are getting irate, it's because they're physically feeling an attack. Whether that attack is physical or not, their body's physiognomy is telling them it is. So when someone gets to the point where they are screaming at you, or they're starting to throw hands, or getting ready to throw hands, because you're questioning their religion, remember, take a moment, breathe, step back from the person, say, okay, I am not trying to upset you. And realize for yourself that they may not understand it, but the reason they are reacting like this is because they really feel this deeply about this opinion they have. And they really don't fully understand that you don't share that opinion. We'll get into the psychological reason in another video. Other than, of course, the fact that they take it as a personal attack, as a physical attack, and not just a religious attack. All right, guys. Well, I wanted to make this a little shorter, so hopefully I hit that aim. Guys, I talk long-winded. I can't help it. So I'm going to get out of here. But first, I want to remind you guys that it doesn't matter who you are. I love you. Take care of each other. And I will see you guys in the next video.